Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fractured Not Broken, the Relationship Wellness Podcast. It is your guy, Coach Reg, EQ expert, relationship coach, author, presenter, and host of this phenomenal podcast. So glad to have you back with me for another episode, and I'm excited to share this one. This is going to be a little different than, well, I think it's going to be, let me say that. I think it'll be a little different than, modestly different than how we typically do pods, but or the information shared, I should say. And this episode is going to deal with a challenge one of my clients is having. Recently having a conversation, and it's professional because, as you know, I do romantic coaching, non-romantic coaching, as well as executive coaching and workplace coaching. So that's why if there's an event, training opportunity at your workplace, they bring in speakers. I'm a person for that. And so this information kind of lends itself to that, because this is an experience that, again, one of my clients is having real time, and she's really trying to figure out, how do I work through this? And so workplace, coworkers, right? In the past, you guys have seen pods that we've done already on boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. What are boundaries? We've talked about those, but we haven't discussed, how do I do that real time? Conceptually, I'm sure you understand, but how do I do it? And what I want to do is spend a few minutes kind of sharing with you what she and I are working through, and maybe it'll help you. And if it does, be sure to let us know in the comments. If you need this type of support for your workplace, be sure to reach out. Use the link in the description at Linktree. You'll see the discovery call. You'll also see the booking request. If you want me to speak at your event, if you want to discuss me being on your show, whatever your ask is, use the booking request form, complete it. It'll come to me. We'll schedule time to discuss what your needs are. Now, workplace boundaries. So this kind of comes because, again, my client has been frustrated for some time, and she is like, what do I do? And not asking me what should she do, because I don't tell people what to do. A coach is not a person who answers, solves, and or resolves for you. We ask questions so that you can discover and uncover answers for yourself. And that's that's how, and one of the ways I support my clients. So in this example, or this experience, if you will, she has coworkers who the workplace is, I won't even go as far as to say it's toxic, because that's too strong. What I will tell you is that they're very familiar. The coworkers, the group, to include the leadership, very familiar with each other. You all have heard the term, I would imagine you have. If you haven't, maybe this is the first time. Familiarity breeds contempt. What does that mean in this context? Well, if I'm familiar with you and you with me, then that may mean that we may take liberties. We may not respect boundaries. We may not respect personal space. We may not respect that work phones are for work and not for personal matters. If I can't get you on your work phone, I'm not going to call you on your personal phone, or just call you on your personal phone at first, because the thing that I want to talk to you about has nothing to do with work. But in addition to that, you may have a different challenge where even in meetings, you're cut off. No one says, excuse me. They talk over you. They say what they want to say as if you don't matter. You're like, wait a minute, I was speaking. It is a bad situation. And because it happens so subtly, as do most of these types of things, you start to work with people, you develop rapport. But what happens over time is that people take that rapport for granted, and it shows up as contempt because the lack of boundaries that are being respected. Well, as you know, and we often talk about, any relationship, regardless of type, is a shared responsibility. So what I shared with her is that this is an experience where there's a shared responsibility. You participated, as have they. And so now it's about, how do we help get back on track? What can you do? What are some things you can do to help kind of shift or pivot this experience for your benefit and, quite frankly, everyone involved? And so what we talked about was how could you do that? And so what I offered was a way for her to do that. And she's still working through it. And I say offered as a way. I said a moment ago, I don't give advice and say this is what you should do. It's like, this is a way to do it. How you do it, if you do it, that's your choice in it. It is not, hey, do this. It's maybe this could work. And so what we've been working on and recently just got started with is how to set healthy boundaries in an environment that is no longer comfortable and has grown unfamiliar. It doesn't work for me. And so what I offered is what I'll share with you, and there are 3 things. But before I tell you what those 3 things are, I want to go ahead and title this episode, We Are Not Friends. Yeah, exactly. You say, God, Coach, that's a little strong. No, it's not strong. It's honest, and I need to get your attention. And so how do you do that? Well, in this example, one of the things I thought about was, hey, how about ask them to a meeting, to a conversation? And maybe if you do this, so what I'm going to do is not so much speak to what she and I discussed. I'm going to talk to you about it as I would approach it, or again, a way to approach it. So if in an experience like that, you can have, again, let's meet. I need 10 minutes of your time, please. Because what I realize, there's some things that I know I see for me that aren't helpful. And quite frankly, I believe it's a way to help us all be better. Because I believe some things have slipped. There's been some slippage in this environment. And I would like to not address the slippage, but speak to how we can address the slippage from the point of how can we mitigate it? How can we no longer experience the slippage? And we're going to do this in the form of boundaries, right? Boundary setting, healthy boundaries. I was like, okay, well, what's on your mind? So you go and you have this meeting, and you can draw it out on the whiteboard. It's 3 things. Number 1, we are not friends. What does that mean? We are coworkers. We work together. The comfort level you have with sharing your weekend, calling personal phones, talking about family vacations, who you're dating, whatever that may be. That's not why we're here, but yet that seems to be the bulk of the time. And so for me, I'm choosing to set boundaries by being very clear that we are not friends, we are coworkers. And in this space, the goal is to be productive for the reasons that we are brought to be, that we're here. And that is to contribute, be productive, and perform the work that we were brought here to do. And hear me, folks, I'm not saying, be nasty or mean, but just be honest. We're not. Number 2, if you in a workspace and there's an opportunity because people come over to you all the time and you're in the middle of working and they just pop over and start talking and they didn't say, excuse me. They just came over because they were more interested in what they wanted to say, discuss whatever, even if it's work related. They didn't even say, excuse me, you got a second. Can I talk to you about this? I got a question. None of that. They go straight into it. So if you have the opportunity, then maybe you can place yourself in a different experience. Like you go to a different office, a different area in the office to work, and you kind of place yourself as such, put yourself aside. It could be a different office. It doesn't mean that you're removing yourself from the group. It simply means that you're saying, I'm going to intentionally and demonstratively show you what boundaries look like by removing myself from this environment that's no longer comfortable, because I need to create a better work environment for myself. So let me move here. And also share, number 2, when you come, I'm going here, and should you need to speak to me about whatsoever, understand that when you do, please knock on the door if it's an office, or ask permission. Am I available? Don't just come over and talk to me. And I need you to remember that when you get here, we are not friends. The purpose that you are here is to discuss the work, to ask your question. If I have a question of you, I'll do the same. If I come to your area, I'm going to ask you if you're available. I may send you a message ahead of time to find out if it's okay. but I'm going to be respectful. Because not only am I asking you to honor my boundaries that I'm setting, I'm going to demonstrate to you that I will show you what that looks like, because I'm not going to just come talk to you. Because this is not about the familiarity that's led to contempt, is the comfort in which I've made myself accessible and available. I'm available to you. I'm accessible. So not available, but I'm accessible. So you, for whatever reason, again, very subtly, it's become a thing where you can just say, hey, I want to talk to you about something. Or they'll come over with the guise of it's about work, but then they immediately divert to a tangent about something that has nothing to do with work. So that also has to be managed. But at the same time, folks, you also have to remind folks, these people, these coworkers, that we're not friends. We're not here for that. Understand what I'm saying to you. Do I know does it sound uncomfortable? Does it sound like, man, I don't know if I could do that? Yeah, I get all of that. But here's the thing. Subtlety is what got you where you are. And the only way to get a different result is to do something different. And it's not being nasty. It's just being honest about what does not work for you. When you're asking them to honor it, you're saying, I'm going to honor it because you're demonstratively showing them that in your example, and you're asking them to honor it. And grace is extended because I understand that the habit has brought us to this place where familiarity has bred contempt. So now let's talk about developing new habits. So I'm going to extend grace to you and ask you to extend it to me as we work through this, because the goal is to help us be better collectively. This is not about me. This is not about you. This is about addressing the slippage that is present in this office. And so this is my way to contribute to an improved, more productive and constructive workplace and environment where people want to come to and perform and produce. That is why. Has nothing to do with I feel this way, you feel that way. No, I think we may have lost sight of some things. You know, there's a line in the movie Drumline, and the guy was, he was envious. The drum leader, I'm not a drummer, so I don't know the proper terms, but many of you may have seen Drumline, but you may remember the scene where the drum leader or the leader of the line was envious of one of the characters. And the person that's over it all, I guess he would be the person that leads the band. I wish I could remember their titles, but again, that's not my thing. But what he said to him, he says, do you know why I chose you for this role to lead this line? And he says, because I cared. His answer was, I cared more about the line than I did my own sound. And he says, that's right. That's what the overall guy said. He says, you're absolutely right. That's exactly why I chose you. He said, but you've lost sight of that. He said, that's okay, because we all lose sight of things sometimes. And what I'm saying to you folks is that it's okay to lose sight. That's why this is not an indictment. This is not about right and wrong. It's not about good and bad. It's about being better. Remember the goal of the podcast, to transform how we show up and present in relationships that matter most. They can be personal, they can be romantic, non-romantic, and they can totally be professional because they matter. And what matters is teaching people, showing people through your action and effort and intention, how healthy boundaries work. Now, you may say, God, I could do that, but that sounds like a lot. Yeah, you could do it. And please understand, there's far more to this than I'm sharing with you because we don't have a lot of time to unpack all of this. What I want you to know is that there's a way to establish healthy boundaries that not only support you, but support the environment that you choose to place yourself in. It is not a matter of just, I understand the concept. It's like, Coach Reg, can we talk about how we do that? Yes, you can. Get out to my link tree and book a discovery call. I do professional coaching, executive coaching, romantic and non-romantic coaching work. This is a real thing, folks, where people are frustrated at work because attitudes and behaviors are allowed to persist. No one is addressing it. And you feel like I have no choice but to accept it. Well, actually you do, because in every experience, we have choices. The key is to remember that you do. The key is to remember that I can choose how I respond in this matter, in this moment, if I choose to at all. Because sometimes it's okay to be quiet until you understand how you want to move forward. Emotional intelligence is hidden in plain sight. We allow what we see to inform how we respond, react, or question the thing, and do our level best to remain measured and not allow our emotions to drive our responses. Man, I hope that made some sense. I really do. Like I said, I know it's so much more to what I shared. And please understand, every scenario is different. Every experience is different. So there's no cookie cutter way. I just want you to know, and I hope that you hear that you have choices and that you can set boundaries with your coworkers. And I told you those three things. We're not friends. You may move yourself to another space in the office. And the third thing is, I need you to remember number one. And this is what you're saying to your coworkers. So let's go over this again. I want to go over this really quickly. I'm sorry, because I didn't close that out. Let me fix that now. Three things you can do. Number one, we're not friends. Write these things down. You ask your coworkers, literally, write this down. I want you to write this down because I want you to be able to reflect on it. I want you to take these notes and I want you to look at them as often as you need. Because when you lose sight of it, my goal is to remind you and help you remember that we're not friends. And when we do interact at work, this is how I'm going to interact with you, and I'm asking that you interact with me. And the third thing is, I need you to remember, we're not friends. You say, why do you keep saying that? Because I need you to understand it's shock value, but it also draws attention to, wait a minute, we're not friends. Can we do both? Yes, we can. But the problem is we may have taken some things for granted in the beginning and assumed that everyone would be responsible and handle the environment respectfully. Well, over time, that's been chipped away. And so now we have to establish something called boundaries that's going to maybe help us get back on track. And so the idea, folks, is to remember, remind, and reflect. And I will give you a different order. Let's go with reflect, remember, and if I'm the person establishing the boundary, I'm going to remind you because I understand it wasn't your idea. Yes, I asked you to participate. Yes, I asked you to be included, but also know that, bad habits is what's got us here. So that's where grace comes in again, right? I'm going to give you time, and I'm asking you to indulge me as well. Extend me grace if I lose sight of it. Because guess what? I participated as well. Remember, folks, at the top of this, how can we be better? Not how can you, not how can I, how can we be better as a group? Now, again, individual work. It's a concept, folks. This is a podcast. We don't have a ton of time. But if you're someone in this space, or you're having these kinds of challenges or similar challenges where you're frustrated at work and you're not sure what to do, you know what to do. Linktree. Get out, schedule some time, discovery call, and let's talk about it. I believe, in fact, I know I can support you because I want you to be great in whatsoever you do and whatsoever relationship you choose to participate, be it a professional relationship or otherwise. That's what it is, folks. And again, remember, we're not friends. That's not why we're here. If we become friends, it's a bonus because we both demonstrated, or we have demonstrated collectively, that we can handle friendship and not let the friendship trump the reason that we're here. We have the priorities correct. Man, I hope that makes some sense. Listen, I'm going to get out. Oh, be sure to get out to wherever you get your podcasts. Go to Apple specifically. Please review the pod and rate it. We want this content to reach the world and the masses, and we want people to be made aware of it because we believe that this is going to support so many people, but we need your help. I need your help. Get out, rate the pod on Apple Pod and wherever you get your pods. Get out to the YouTube channel if you'd like to watch. Be sure to subscribe, share with your network. This is the kind of content that is going to help people transform how they show up and present in the relationships that matter most. Listen, folks, it is your guy, Coach Reg. You know I love you. Thank you for loving me. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take good care. Bye.